You won't believe what's been going on in the minor leagues in the last 3 days, especially when it comes to the Mets prospect, Ronny Mauricio, and we're going to talk about it in this video coming up right now. So as you know, the big news that happened on Friday in the minor league system with the Mets was that the Mets are going to play Ronny Mauricio, who's been a shortstop since they signed him a few years ago, since he's been professional at shortstop, because of the Mets having Francisco Lindor as the shortstop over the next now 9 years of a 10-year contract. They have to consider where to move some of their prospects. And as you know, Ronny Mauricio has been a shortstop, and they've decided to play him at second. And they put him at second on Friday. And the past few days, he played the whole weekend, I guess against Durham. And, let's get into it. So on Friday, he went 0 for 3. First day, probably jitters at second base. But Saturday night, he went 3 for 5. Now he's a switch hitter. He's got big power. He's really developed as a player over the last, 5 months since the Dominican Winter League. He was Dominican Winter League MVP. He had a great spring training. If you watch the Mets and their games, he had a lot of opportunity to play a lot. Seeing as how we had the World Baseball Classic going on, and Francisco Lindor was in playing for Team Puerto Rico, Mauricio was able to play a lot and press the Mets. He did not get sent down to minor league camp because of his performance. He got sent down just because of a numbers game. The players were coming back from the tournament, and he was one of these guys that he needs a little more seasoning. I would mention this last year in Double-A. He didn't really he had sort of a lackluster season in Double-A. So he sort of has come off, he was sort of been off the radar of the last year or so. But he had a great winter ball. And he had a great spring training. And he's gotten off to a torrid start. Let me go through the numbers so far. About 80 at-bats or so. He's hit 350, 6 home runs, 16 RBIs, an OPS of 1,083. Let me say it again. An OPS of 1,083. And that, as you know what OPS is, on base percentage and slugging percentage added on. And that you get this separate statistic with 14 extra base hits. So like I said, on Friday went 0 for 3. On Saturday went 3 for 5 with 3 singles. And he went 1 for 5 on Sunday with an RBI late in the game. So he has really performed rather well. He has a new challenge. He's got to learn to play second base. They say if you're an infield, it's much easier to go from shortstop to second than it is the shortstop to the outfield. And maybe at some point they'll put him in the outfield, but probably most likely they'll put him at second. Now, people have been writing to me, great comments. But the one thing they all seem to be very rigid on is playing Jeff McNeil at second. They're not going to move him. He's a second baseman. I want him to play second. Jeff McNeil has value playing everywhere in the field. Second base, left field, right field. He's a great defensive player in all those positions. It gives you a lot of flexibility to put somebody, say, for instance, what they did on Sunday night, play Luis Guillorme, and then later on take him out of the game, sort of early in the game, and they can pinch hit Marcana in the game, and then you can move Canna into left field, and you can put McNeil at second base. So if you say to me, or say to yourself or to other Mets fans, you know what, you got to play McNeil at second because, quite frankly, he's a great second baseman. But then it leaves, it doesn't give you the kind of flexibility. Baseball's different now than it was 20, 30 years ago. One player played one position. The teams love flexibility. So that's why the Mets are going to be playing Mauricio at second. It also gives them a little bit of value. Maybe they decide to trade him, or maybe at some point they put him in the outfield a little bit. I would mention he's not a base stealer. That's not part of his game. His game is to hit and hit for power. So he had a very good weekend as a second baseman. So far, so good. Hopefully we'll get some reports on how he's been performing defensively, but we'll find that out pretty quickly. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Baseball HUD. Thank you, and I'll see you later.